Hi, I'm Eileen Roach from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and welcome to today's program of Between Friends. I'm thrilled that you are joining us today. And you'll see I have my green shirt on. Go Birds, right? For any of you Eagles fans, let me know in the comments who you're rooting for, whether it's the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs. Both teams are great teams. Most certainly should be a really fun Sunday night. I see Holly Gale is here from New Jersey. So it's a big question. Is Holly rooting for the Eagles, or she wouldn't be caught dead doing that because she's really a Giants fan or maybe even a Jets fan? You never know. So we have an exciting program for you today. We're going to talk about why pressing matters in the hoop. And there's several reasons why it does, but I am blessed to have a guest that's going to join me in a little bit. But I'm hoping that you caught Ashley Jones's broadcast last Tuesday, just 2 days ago. And if you didn't, I want to share just a couple slides so you know kind of what you missed. So Ashley, as you know, she is full of enthusiasm and she welcomed many, many viewers. And her program on every other Tuesday is Software Success, where she's guiding all of us through some simple steps of Dime software. And she started with the Embroidery Toolshed, which is our free software program that anyone is allowed to download and use. And she went over everything that it can do. Yeah, she had a couple slides, just a couple bullet points here telling you what it could do. But then she jumps right into the software live so that, you can ask questions and she can pivot and just, respond to your request. But she really did cover an awful lot of material. Like she talked about what are all those diamonds around a design when you select it. That's the boundary box, right? So what does each one do? She went through that. Some of you are advanced software users, so you already know what those tools are. But for those of you who don't know, it's really, it was a very handy reminder and lesson. She taught how you can use those handles to add a little movement to embroidery designs that didn't really otherwise exist in the embroidery design. And she talked about how to customize the hoops. So if you are somebody who likes to work in metric measuring system or the imperial inches system, you can switch between the two measuring systems in Embroidery Toolshed so that you are comfortable with the measurement system. And that goes for the size of the designs, the screen layout, and even the names of the hoops. So she didn't really miss much. I'll tell you, she covered the design analysis feature that is in Embroidery Toolshed. And in this simple feature, it tells you, the color sequence, but it also tells you how long each segment is going to stitch and how much thread you will need of each color, which could be quite handy for those of you who like to do what we call bobbin or thread chicken, right? Where we just have a little bit left on the spool or we're not so sure we're going to make it to the end of the design. Well, the design analysis in Embroidery Toolshed has you covered. It gives you all of that information. So you can go back and watch, this past Tuesday's program. It's on our YouTube channel and it's also on our Facebook page. And, all of these broadcasts are available to you all the time. So take a moment if you missed it to watch the rebroadcast. And if you did watch it live, I know many of you said in the comments, because I was watching, was like, I got to watch this again because she went over so much. So she will be broadcasting again on February 21st, and that's 1 o'clock Central. And if you'd like to be notified on when she's going live and when I'm going live or are Between Friends every Thursday, this is how you do it.
We want to make sure you are being notified every time we go live on Thursdays at 1 p.m. And here's a quick tutorial on how you can set up your live notifications. First, on your homepage, click on the search button. Look for us. Click on the 3 little dots on our page. A pop-up will appear. Select on Manage Follow Settings. Click on Live Videos and enable notifications. Make sure they're all set to all. Now you're all set.
That's great. I mean, it's just such an easy way to get notified, right? So don't take a moment and do that. I'm just reading all your comments. Like Dinah Halapka said, Ashley is the bomb. She did a great job. She always does a great job. I'm telling you, she steps up, makes all of us step up our game here. So I see we have a kind of a mix of Eagles and Kansas City fans. And Retha Rankin, you're a Cowboys fan, but you're not really interested now because they're not playing. I know. Well, here I am in Dallas, Texas, and let me tell you, this is cowboy country. So everybody in my building is pretty much rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs because, Philly and Dallas are pretty much rivals. But that's okay. I don't have to worry about my tires getting slashed in Dallas. I can tell you that. They're friendly fans for here. And yes, so many of you did watch Ashley. She had Kathy Cat. You said she had a great program, so much information, and it's just so obvious how passionate she is about using software. She's just brilliant. Hey, look who's commenting. Reen Wilcoxson. Talk about a multi-talented, multitasking woman. She is definitely multitasking because not only is she commenting, she's also in the house, not here, but in the studio. And she's going to join us, I guess, right now, right? It's time for Reen to join me to talk about why pressing matters. We like to press in the hoop for applique, if you're piecing in the hoop projects, and of course, if you're putting a zipper in the hoop, pressing is really important. So will you please help me welcome Reen Wilcoxson? She's our guest today. Hi, Reen.
Hi, Eileen. How are you?
Oh, I'm just great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Hi, everyone.
Yes, so many folks in here today. It's just great. Just great to have everybody here. And Reen, you're up in Indiana, right?
That's right. Way up north.
Yeah. How's the weather up there today?
Today, it's not bad. It's very, very windy and it's raining. We've actually had quite a mild winter here. We're very close to Chicago, but our snowfall this year hasn't been anything, maybe about 3 inches. But winter's not over yet.
It's not over yet. We've had a little bit of everything here, in the past 2 weeks. Super cold weather last week with ice. In fact, I got iced in Florida. Is there a better place to hang out when there is ice in your hometown? I was really lucky. It was great. But, I was also lucky that I was at my sister's, so it didn't cost me a fortune. It was just more family time, which was really nice. But then, this week we've had rain, several inches of rain in 2 days. And today, sunny and 60. So can't beat that, right? So
That's
we
right.
are
take whatever I get here in Indiana.
That's right. That's right. So Doris R., she's got a question. How does one test a design? Do we have to stitch out the whole thing as a trial run? That could be a waste of thread time and stabilizers. How about you? What's your practice on that, Reen?
Well, if I was going to be stitching a design and, I'm going to be stitching it on maybe a really nice jacket or some fabric that, I don't have a lot of, or maybe it's very expensive. Yeah, I might stitch it out the whole thing first before I, go to my nice blank or, my nice fabric.
Right. But if it's
do it.
Yeah, there's, we had friends in Oklahoma that used to say there's two kind of embroiderers, those who test and those who wish they had.
That's right.
And it is true. And I always had the philosophy that every embroidery design comes out beautiful unless it's on an object you really love or was quite expensive.
That's right. You can always use those test embroideries that you do, make a quilt or a hanging or something with them.
Yeah, like maybe try to use coordinating fabrics so that as you stitch them out, they could become quilt blocks that you can then piece together into a finished project.
Right?
Yeah. And if you're really nervous about it, then, use scraps, use even old garments. We often will purchase secondhand garments that are made of the same fabric type that the final stitch out's going to be on, and that will allow you to test it out almost in reality without ruining the garment that you're going to be making or stitching on.
It's better to be safe than sorry later on.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Yeah. Okay. So today I thought we're going to talk about pressing. I promise. I promise. But I thought it would be a lot of fun to play kind of 20 questions with Reen. We've done that in the past, and lots of the viewers really enjoyed it. So I have written down 16 questions, and if we get to 20, those others are usually from the viewers. So we'll get started in a minute. But let's see. Kathy Queen uses old sweatshirts. Yeah, if that's going to be your final stitch out on a sweatshirt, use an old one. You don't ever have to wear that one, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Reen, if you could live in any time in history, when would that be?
Ooh, any time in history. That's kind of tough. I kind of I don't know, I was born in 1960, so I lived that time. I really wouldn't want to live like back in the 1800s or anything like that. I like all this modern stuff.
Right.
I'd like to live in the future sometime, maybe, 20 years from now, and see. I just can't imagine what's going to be going on in 20 years, the technology we're going to have. And
imagine.
By then our embroidery machines might be doing our dishes or something for us. We don't know.
We don't know.
Think it'd be very exciting.
Yeah. And you would get to see what your grandchildren and your children are doing.
That's right. That's right. Cool. That's always, I know you have the same feeling I do that, you want to be involved in their lives. You want to see them do well. You want to see what they do, and you want to be part of it. Right. Right. And you would also see all those heirloom quilts and so forth that you made. Are they using them? Are they in the pet, bed? Oh, well, it's okay. They could do whatever they want once we give it to them, right? That's right. Let's see. Okay, let's see. If you weren't in the machine embroidery world, what career path do you think you would have taken? I might have been a nurse. My mother wanted me to be a nurse, actually. And at the time, it wasn't something I wanted to do. But, looking back now, I think I might have liked to do that. Yeah. Good. I think you would have made a good nurse. You have a nurturing personality. I know how you work with your students. If that's any indication on how you would treat patients, I think that would be a good fit. Yeah, I think it might be, although I've never been a nurse, so I don't know. I know it's a lot of work. It's tough. It's hard, but right. And something I would have chosen. Yeah, and I'm sure there's some sadness to it, but also joy, right? Also joy. So let's see. If you were given $10 million, what would you do with it? And you can't give it away. Well, me, I would have given a lot of it to my kids. That's just kind of how I am. But I would definitely give money to charity, do some good with it. And, of course, I'd spend it on me and buy some things, too, for me and my family. If I can't give it away, then I'm going to use it to buy things for my family so that they can enjoy it with me. Mm-hmm. Like what? Would it be a second home, like a vacation home, a yacht, an airplane? $10 million, what I would love is to build a huge compound where my two kids, my two boys and their families, and our grandsons, we could all live together. I don't know if they'd like it, but that's something that I would like, and we could walk over to each other's houses and, I would like that. Oh, that's a beautiful thought. Really beautiful thought. Well, I hope you win the lottery. Me too. Yeah, right. Okay. What was the best job you've ever had? I didn't really, I worked for a steel fabricator. I took care of their books and stuff early on. Then kind of after that, and the kids start coming, I was basically a stay-at-home mom at that point. So I really didn't have a whole lot of jobs, but I really love my job now. Yeah.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Here we have someone who says none of this has anything to do with pressing for embroidery. We started off with software and we still aren't even coming close to discussing pressing. You're gone. Oh, well, sorry to lose you, Celia. But between friends often is a conversation between, my guest and myself. So in the past, we've learned that people love to get to know someone like Reen. So we'll continue with these questions, but we will get to pressing in the hoop. All right. Speaking of jobs, how about the worst job you ever had?
Oh, it had to be when I just first started working, and you're like 17 or whatever, and being a waitress. That was just the worst to me,
Yeah.
I wasn't really very good at it.
Well, and you're usually dealing with hungry people with, today there's a term, hangry, right? Angry and hungry combined. Well, we didn't really have that. I was a waitress too 100 years ago, but it can be difficult. I mean, sometimes people are celebrating, joyful and so forth, but if they're really hungry, it's a little different. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. How about what's the best present you've ever received?
Ooh, can I say my grandkids?
Sure, absolutely. You can say
that's better than anything. That's better than getting a diamond ring or, a car or something to me. It's all about, the kids and the grandkids.
Yes, invaluable, irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Deb Crowley, she said she's on lunch break. Can I watch the actual pressing tips later? You bet. We're going to get to it in just about 10 minutes. We only have a handful of questions to go through. How about describing your best day? What would be your best day if you could design that day?
Sitting around in my pajamas, sewing all day, embroidering all day.
There you go.
Nobody bothering me.
Yeah, I think maybe you get that to do that now and then.
Yeah, I do, but I would still, it's just me and my husband here. He's retired, so here during the day, but I just want to do what I want to do when I want to do it all day long.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Okay, so let's move on to what do you do when a disaster happens at the machine? Do you curse? Do you walk away? Do you drink alcohol? Eat chocolate? What do you do?
A lot of times it doesn't bother me. I'll usually just unhoop it, whatever, throw it in the trash and, start again.
Yeah. So you throw it out. You don't try to resurrect it.
Most of the time, if there's a zipper or something in there, I might rip it out to, reuse that. But more often than not, it just goes in the trash.
Good. Okay. I like that. All right. So why don't we move on to the pressing tips, and then we'll come back for more questions, because I have a feeling they're going to want to know more questions. They're going to add some questions of their own. But it's interesting. We talked about you possibly would have been a nurse, and we have quite a few who are nurses. Karen St. John loved being a nurse. We have a physician that's watching in the house. And Sue Wiggins says her favorite day would be reading while someone is organizing her sewing room exactly the way she wants, without her having to tell them, and having it done by the end of the day. Well, Sue, let me tell you a secret. If you have a sister, bring her in. She's the one who can read your mind and possibly do the work for you. My sister, Marie Zeno, and I did that. She did it for me. I would like to say I did it for her, but I didn't. She did it for me. And we think so much alike that it was very logical the way she laid it out, and it was brilliant. So anyway, that's my advice on that. Otherwise, you got to do it yourself. Okay, so let's go to Pressing Matters, and we'll bring in PowerPoint. And I just want to say, why do I have Reen here? And people might be wondering why Reen. Well, she's the founder of Embroidery Garden, which is all about in the hoop embroidery. Everything she sells is in the hoop. And she's known for her exquisite instructions. And I mean, when you use one of her in the hoop designs, I would say 99.9 times or 100% of the time, if you follow the instructions, you will have success. And it's all about those instructions. Like, for instance, look at the list of fabric pieces that you need for an 8x8 zipper bag. And notice that red letter next to each one. Well, that's in the instructions, and it tells you exactly what you're going to need. So let's go to the overhead cam and just take a look at the instructions. So for her zipper bags, there are, Rena, I'm pretty sure they can hear you talk. There are how many different versions? They go all the way from 4x4 to 9x14.
There are 11 different bags in the set.
11 different bags. And so, because she gives you those numbered pieces or the lettered pieces, when I cut my pieces out, I literally put a pin in with the letter on it so that I would know when they're all piled up next to my machine, which one I needed to walk away. I needed to grab for the next step, which is important, right, Reen?
Right, because a lot of times some of the pieces are very close in size. They're not exact, but very close. And
Yes.
You need to make sure you put the right piece down.
And that really is the key to success, is setting it all up in the beginning. And, I'm not the only one who loves them. Like Vicki Luttrell, she says she loves your designs and instructions. And let's see, Carolyn Booth says that your instructions are the best available. Boy, that's high praise.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, absolutely. Look at Patricia Hale, poor thing. She says if she brought in her older sister, she'd have to wear ear covers to not listen to the commentary as she heard. That's cracking me up. I have 5 sisters, so 1 or 2 might fit in that bill. I can tell you when you have that many, right? Okay. Okay. So those are the instructions, and then Reen, the key about pressing is getting all those crisp seams when you braid. Yeah. So I followed your instructions and I have several stitch outs. I have 2 stitch outs that I want to share with you. And we'll start with, here we go. So here you can see I have quilted there's batting here and the outer fabric, the zipper is already placed, and then there's lining that has been added to the back of the hoop. And Reen, do you call it the back of the hoop or the wrong side of the hoop?
I call it the back side.
Yeah.
I try to be very consistent in my instructions, say the front side, the back side. And whenever I show pictures in my instructions, my hoop is always set when I'm showing the front side of the hoop in a certain way. And then basically to go to the back side, you just turn it like a book. I did that from the very beginning. I used to travel and teach, and you tell people to go to the back side of the hoop. Sometimes the hoop would get flipped in all different directions. And, if you were correct, then you'd be in trouble placing the next piece.
Absolutely. And so at this point, my lining for the bottom section of the bag, the lower section of the bag has been added, and it's time to make sure that's going to be secure over there. But this is where the pressing comes in. And you invented this hoop and press pad system, right?
That's right. I saw a need for it. And then it really became obvious to me when I was teaching and traveling and just seeing how people handled the hoop and stabilized when they had to go to the backside.
Yeah. And so on these pads that you designed, we have wool, a really 1/2 inch thick wool. And then on this is a non-slip surface.
Right.
I love that. So when you use it, you place the non-slip, down on the work surface and the wool side up, and then you just place your hoop right over it. Of course, they come in sizes for the hoops, correct?
Right. And now you've got support underneath your hoop, so you can press when pieces need to be folded over. You get a nice crisp seam, which is really important. To me, when I thought about doing these press pads, if you were making a bag in the on your sewing machine, you're going to stop and you're going to press as you go. So why not do it while you're working on something in the hoop?
I agree. And, even just when you press a little bit, like, okay, we're talking about ironing here, right? Pressing with an iron. But if you're going to just exert a little pressure to apply tape to hold this down for the next step, that can even dislodge the work from the hoop, right?
Right. And, everybody uses different tape. And sometimes, you really need to press down well on your tape to get it to adhere. How many times have we taped something on the backside,
Wow.
get to our machine, and then the pieces flipped or maybe it fell off? So you really need to be able to apply pressure to get your tape to stick well.
Yeah, and it's so important. That's another part of the pressing that's so important. And we use these pads for several things. But one of the fun things about In the Hoop projects by Reen is she thinks of all the steps. Like, as you can see here, let's just flip this over to remind you that we have a zipper placed, already tacked down, it's sewn in place. But of course, there's stabilizer behind it. And she has you covered on how to remove that stabilizer. So I have another step out that's in progress also. It's a little bit further along. So as you can see, I have my backing, my lower portion is down and quilted, and here's the upper part, and the batting is already added and tacked down. And then on the back, we have the lining for the lower part and the lining for the top. And then she tells us to cut out this stabilizer in between.
You got to take the stabilizer out because that's where your zipper is. And when your bag's done, you want to be able to, when you unzip it, if you don't cut the stabilizer out, well, you got stabilizer in there, so you can't really access the inside of your bag.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier if you trim it at this point than, if you wait until the bag is completely done and then you're trying to get your scissors in there and, loop around stuff. So.
Right. And so I have my snips, my blade inserted right along the edge of the folded fabric. That's my lower edge lining. And I'm pulling on this piece of stabilizer. And boy, that allows me to just slip those scissors. Hang on.
And what the hoop and press pad is doing, it's, a lot of times when people do this step, they jab the scissors down and they start cutting their zipper. So the hoop and press pad gives you some support underneath there. So, you have a less chance of doing that.
Right. Absolutely. And now Doris has a question. She says, are the raw edges of the seam allowances exposed inside the bag, or are these patterns, or are they enclosed? I'll let you answer that.
They're all enclosed. Once the bag is finished, you see no raw edges inside. You actually see no other type of stitching on the inside of the bag. Fully lined, no exposed seams. In my opinion, I don't want to make a bag unless it is fully lined with no exposed seams. I don't see any reason to spend all this time making a bag and having the inside of it professional.
So Tracy Wilson has a question. She says, when ironing on these wool pads on a mat, is the mat safe? That she wants to ruin the mat with a wool pad. Well, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to as the mat.
I think she's referring, maybe, Eileen, to, she notices you have your hoop and your hoop mat underneath your pad.
Yeah, and so that is silicone, and it is heat resistant. Now, I wouldn't want to put a full, cotton setting iron on the hoop mat, but it is heat resistant. If I happen to, swipe a hot iron along the edge of the hoop mat, it doesn't cause any harm. But we don't really position it as a pressing tool. It's a hooping tool. And but the pad that is secured on the bottom of the hoop and press pads, that heat does not penetrate that heavy wool. I mean, no way. You don't feel the heat. If I were to put a hot iron here, I would not feel the heat here.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt your mat or even your cutting mat or your hoop mat when it's underneath and you're pressing, because you've got that at least half-inch of wool mat, then you got the bottom on it too.
Right. So
there's not take my iron and set it down on my cutting mat or on the hoop mat.
Right. Okay. So let's see. What are the difference between the pressing pads Oh, so Jody Morrison says, what's the difference between these pressing pads and the ones you offered earlier that had handles? Well, it's a different manufacturer, Reen, and is there any other differences?
The pads now, I think they're more streamlined. I didn't see a need for the handle. I like the fact that, like I said, they are more streamlined. The handle, it added more to it. You couldn't really get them into drawers and stuff. Yeah,
Mm.
people did like hang them up by the handle, but there's not really a need for that. You know,
Right.
I like the fact that they're more streamlined, and I believe these pads are a little bit thicker than the other ones were.
I agree. Yeah, I think they are. Let's see. So we do have Star wants to know, do these fit Bernina hoops? They sure do. We have, and we'll show them in a little bit, just not quite yet. We do have all that. Oh, and Retha wants to know, and Reen, remember we met Retha at Quilt Fest in
Right.
Houston. Yeah. Hi, Retha.
When I was there for all of 2 minutes, it seemed
Right.
like.
Right, me too. So let's see. Yes, all of Reen's patterns are in the hoop. You don't really have any sewing, do you?
You know, on a few of my designs, there's like a tote bag kind of thing. I call it the jelly roll purse, where you make almost everything is in the hoop. I'd say 95% maybe. And then you have to do like simple machine sewing, maybe like 6 inches, maybe 12 inches. But, sometimes you just can't do it all in the hoop. Sometimes, some hoops just aren't big enough for some things. But
Right.
I'd say 95% of my stuff is made completely in the hoop. I do have a few designs like, some appliques and, things like that. Some people consider applique in the hoop, but
Well, it's embroidery, right?
yeah,
Okay,
right.
so Sarah McKinney wants to know, are you using steam in the iron? Of course, I'm not here, but do you?
I don't.
Mhm.
Because steam, sometimes it all depends on the stabilizer you're using. And, if you steam it, sometimes that'll affect your stabilizer. It'll make it shrink up. It'll make it wavy. There's really not a need to steam it. Pressing, the heat is enough to get those seams nice and flat and,
Right.
keep things where they should be.
Okay, that's a good, but I will tell you on outside of Reen's in the hoop designs, I have used steam on wool mats with no problem, but that's a personal preference. Some
Oh
people.
yeah, on my mat. If I'm just using my mat,
Mhm.
like by my sewing machine
Mhm.
to, do some quilt blocks or something, yeah, I'll use steam. It's
Yeah,
just sometimes it depends on that stabilizer you're using.
right. Sure, for sure. Okay, then Cher Johnson says, well, hoop and press pads, what's the most used size for a baby lock machine? Well, that's kind of the $1,000,000 question, right? So, of course, baby lock machines come in all shapes and sizes. And I always tell people when they're asking, what size monster hoop should I buy? I say, well, what's your go-to hoop that you always reach for? The one that, are you a 5x7 user, an 8x8, or do you go big all the time? That would be the hoop and press pad that you should purchase, right, Reen?
Right. Me, I use a Luminaire machine. I have every hoop there is for the machine. Even though my machine came with, I think, 4x4, 5x7, and the big hoop, I have every hoop, except
Known
6
demand.
for my machine. So, I have basically almost a hoop and press pad for every hoop.
Every hoop, yeah.
Almost.
Right. Okay, so let's take a look at some other uses. We talked a little bit about applique. I love this. I can't wait to go home and finish. Next week, I'll show them to you. But isn't that plaid fabric fun? I like that. I mean, not that it's summer, but I'm always looking forward to summer. That would be pretty in the summer. Okay, so applique is another great time to press in the hoop. And you would think I would have that pad. Here it is. Okay. So here's my 5x7 hoop press pad. So I would actually place my project right on it while I trim. I mean, why not keep it in a nice handy spot, elevate it a little bit. And so I'm just slicing along that tack down. and lifting that applique away from the base fabric and snipping that. But right now, I want to flip this over and place it over that hoop pad so that I can iron it in place, because I have applied Fuse Me to the wrong side of my applique fabric. Can you see the sheen on a little bit of that? Let's see if we can get that up there. You can see that sheen. So that's a nice, beautiful, lightweight, fusible web that will permanently secure my applique fabric to my host fabric, my base fabric, as we say. And then when I go to stitch my decoration on that Eagles football, I won't have any, snow plowing of the applique, right?
Right. And then even after you've gotten your satin stitch around there, you can press again, and the whole mat, it won't flatten out the stitches if you press from the back side.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Kathy Queen, she says, should you use fusible stabilizers for appliques? Well, I'm going to take that question. You're asking, should we use fusible web? Should we fuse those applique fabrics to the base fabric? And yes, we always recommend that for sure. Mm-hmm.
Right. I do too.
Let's see. Norma wants to know, doesn't your iron's heat ruin your hooping mat when you set it down? Just curious. Okay, well, truth be told, this iron's not on. We're here live, we have to keep the danger to a minimum, believe me. So we do have sharp scissors that actually cut, but we don't normally have heat, steam, or, cutting tools that are, run by a motor. So, Joe Ellen wants to know, what is snow plowing? Well, I don't know if I can give you an example, but I'll try. I will try it, because this might do it. So snow plowing is when you run your finger across the fabric and you get a bubble, right? So when you get that satin down there, and then let's say we have, the football white lines and the laces, there's a good chance I could get a bubble of applique fabric between the satin finish that's going to stitch next or the decorative elements. And that's snow plowing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I hope that answered it. Let's see. And Creative Applique says that the hoop and press pads are great when you're using Caesar HTV vinyl in an applique design, since you do need to press from the back. And
right.
Great advice for sure. Mm-hmm. I know, Linda, I hear a little bit of an echo too, and I can't seem to stop that. I apologize. Hoop and press mats are used in conjunction with the wool mat. Well, the hoop and press mats are wool mats themselves. So they're a standalone product. You wouldn't need both at all. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so another reason why we often use the hoop and press pad is when we make a mistake, like, fly eagles fly, right? Well, what's the matter with this design?
Ooh, looks like you didn't change your thread in time.
Yeah, right. Snoozing, doing two things at once, right? So we have to rip this out. And that can be treacherous in a hoop because, chances are the more I handle this, the more likely the fabric is going to pop out of the hoop. And then that's a whole nother video lesson, right, Reen?
Yes, okay. It is.
Yeah, so let me move some of these other pieces and then I'll just show you. So here's my error, my mistake. Oh, and I just thought you'd like to notice, folks, that beautiful green, is very similar to the Eagle's true color. And in our exquisite line, it is number 3325. And guess what the name of it is? Lincoln. Just like Lincoln Field, that's the name of the Eagles football field, because I know you all want to get tickets to go next year. Anyway, okay, I'm carrying on. So we're going to turn that over, and now it's nice and secure over that hoop pad, and I'm going to take my stitch eraser and turn that on, and then we just start to rip out those stitches, and really, in no time, these stitches are going to come right out. And notice how much pressure I am able to apply to these fill stitches and not have to worry about it coming out of the hoop. Isn't that
Right.
awesome?
You always want to take stitches out from the back side.
That's right, Reen. And we never remove our stabilizer first, right? We always want to keep that in place. And then we can just pick this out and pull out those stitches. You know, and you have to work on it a little bit. I'll trim those away. And then I'll give it another run with the stitch ripper from behind. But really, in no time, this will be all complete, all out of there. And then I can just put this back into the machine and travel back in the design till I'm at this segment, make sure I have white thread on there, and stitch the rest of that design. So that's how handy it is to stitch, you know, rip out stitches, because boy, that's a pain. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Retha Ranke says she needed that stitch ripper about 30 minutes ago. Well, let me tell you about a stitch ripper. It's kind of like car insurance. Once you own it, you probably won't need it. But if you do need it, you're really glad that you have it. Yeah, and Judy, no, you love how the hoop pads don't slide around. No, with that grid on the bottom of that wool pad, doesn't move at all. It is awesome. Oh, Elizabeth Culver, she said she's tried all the stitch movers, and this stitch eraser is the best. The rest went into the donation box. Well, thank you. I feel bad for those people who are going to pick it up at the donation store, but you know, we tested them, and it really is so successful every time, whether you are ripping out full stitches, satins, and even some runs. It comes with 2 different blades. Right now, I have that skinny little blade on there, but it comes with one that is the full size, which I probably should have been using on those fill stitches, but I guess I didn't pick up on that right away. So let's see. Belinda Thompson wants to know, what kind of fuse do you use? We use a product called Fuse Me. Unfortunately, we're sold out of it on our website right now, but it'll be back in stock pretty soon at the end of this month. And let's see, Sigrid wants to know, how is it charged? Well, it has well, let's see, I think I have the box right here. So let's go to the overhead cam, take a better look at that. It comes with all this wonderful stuff. It has a plug-in charger that you can just then, you know, put this into the wall. But I charged this once last year, and I've never had to charge it again. So of course, I don't make that many mistakes. Liar, liar, pants on fire. But, you know, when you use it, you only use it for a couple of minutes, right, Reen? It goes so fast.
That's right. I admit I've had to use it a few times myself.
Yeah. Right. And boy, when you have it, you're so grateful to have it. And here's that other blade. I could get that open so you can see how nice and wide that is. And go ahead, I'll just switch this out so you can also see how easy that is. So it just literally snaps off, and then the other one just snaps right in place. There we go. And now I'm ready to start going. And we could do that all day. Now I would flip it over and so forth and go back on the hoop pad, but that's awesome. And I love it. Okay. All right, so Sharon Cabral says, when they first came out, she ordered the 5x7 mat for her multi-needle. And now you see there are special mats for her. Well, Sharon, what we changed, and I can show you under the camera. So this was the earliest model of the hoop and press pad. And so as you take a look at that corner, you'll see it has a really kind of nice arc, right? And then in order to be compatible with all of the multi-needle machines, we just changed that arc just a little bit, because those hoops on the multi-needle, their arc is a little different. So by changing it to accommodate this hoop, it still fits in the standard hoops, the single needle hoops. So that's the only change. And we do have a bundle for, this is the multi-needle bundle. And so it has a 5x7, an 8x8, and an 8x12. As you can see, these 3 are here. They're all stacked together and shrink wrapped together. We also sell them individually. And then we have a bundle for the single needle machines that is a 5x7 and a 8x8, a 6x10, and then the largest 8x12. So, but you should also know that you can use these, like the 8x12, you could use that in a 9x14. You would just have to be a little careful around the outer edge, but you know, it would work for sure. Okay, so let's see. Lee Geary says, my husband has old work shirts with company logos embroidered on them. Yes, it can remove, you know, well, here's the deal, Leah. Our embroidery here is professional too.
That's right.
Yeah, so for sure. Yeah, for sure. It will remove it. Now, tiny little lettering is still tiny little lettering. Can you get it out? Yes, you can. I once had to remove the word assistant from the phrase physician's assistant. Once my daughter became a doctor, we had to remove assistant. That was really tedious. Tiny little script, really teeny tiny. But took time, but I got it out. So yes. So let's see. Will the bundle work with your brother's Stellaire? Sure, it will absolutely work with your Stellaire.
It'll work with any brother or baby lock machines that have those size hoops.
That's right. That's right. So you just want to buy the bundle. You know, the actual pads are really the same pads in the single needle and multi-needle bundles. It's just that they have different sizes. So the single needle bundle has 4 pads in it: 5x7, 8x8, 6x10, and 8x12. The multi-needle has 3 pads in it, and that's the 5x7, 8x8, and 8x12. And that's because those are the most popular sizes that come with those machines. So I hope that answered that question. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Sandy Martinez said, make a patch if you want to take out small lettering or hide small lettering. Yeah. But, you know, doctors pretty particular. Don't put a lot of patches on doctors' clothes. Yes. So Patricia Ann said, yes, the bundles are the same as standard, just missing the 6x10. Yep. Okay. So the rest of money will fit my single needle. Do we make a 4x4? We do not make a 4x4 at this time. You know, we really designed these mainly for in the hoop, and we figured most embroiderers are not doing 4x4 in the hoop projects. Maybe we missed the boat on that. But, you know, Reen and I were talking before the broadcast that we should really revisit what sizes we're offering and expand that. So we'll consider the 4x4. And is there a hanging loop on the back? No, Norma, there is not a hanging loop on the back. They just, I just stash them in my sewing room in a stack. So that's how I do
I
it.
keep mine in a drawer, you know. You know what I thought I might do is try to come out with like a sewing pattern to store them in, and you could hang that if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So several people are asking about Pfaff and Viking, and not yet. So, but that's an area that we are definitely going to move into. So you can look for them in the future. We'll get going on that. And Creative Applique says we need a 10x16. Maybe we do. That's a pretty big hoop, right? And Carolyn Booth, she keeps hers in the drawstring bag. That's smart, right?
Carolyn, I saw the bag that she made, and it's really cute.
Yeah, nice. You've already seen that? You're so smart. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at our special, which is they are all, oh yeah, well, I have to do that. Okay, pardon me. They are all on sale now, and if you buy the bundle, you get free shipping. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. And if this is the product that you've been thinking about and wondering, will you use it? how would you use it? You know, we really showed you several different ways of how you would use them and why you would use them. And we know at Dime, and with the help of Reen, just how popular in the hoop embroidery is. So we're always reaching for these hoop and press pads. So treat yourself. This is the time, you know, to take advantage of the special pricing and the free shipping, which we don't have all the time anymore because, you know, the shipping's gotten out of control. So yeah, if you've been waiting, do it now, right?
Right. I've been getting lots of great feedback from the hoop and press pads. You know, once people have them and they see all the things they can do, you know, they wonder, well, how did I do this, you know, without them? You know, now my in the hoop projects are turning out, you know, beautifully. They look a lot nicer than they used to. So
Yeah, very nice. Let's see. Will they work with the metal hoops? They're a little tall for the snap hoop monsters. I don't use them on snap hoop monster. Do you, Reen?
no, because the snap hoop monsters, they're pretty flat anyway. They don't have a high profile. And, you know, if you really wanted to
Yeah.
press on the back of those, you know, lay them down, have the attachment where it goes on the machine, maybe hang off the table and just kind of hold your iron really carefully above and just
Yeah.
lightly press.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Debbie Albert said she never knew she could take her hoop out in the middle of an embroidery. Well, it's not really advisable, right? I mean, I did it for the applique, and of course, you have to do it for your in the hoop projects, right, Reen?
Right. I mean, it's, you know, your hoop goes into the machine, does whatever its step. Maybe it's going to stitch down first, and a lot like my bags, it's going to stitch the placement for the zipper. After it does, you have to take the hoop off the machine. You don't take the stuff out of the hoop, your stabilizer. You just take the hoop off the machine, get your zipper in place, tape it down, then take your hoop back to the machine, do the next step. And, you know, according to whatever directions are, you know, what you're making, you will have to basically almost after every step, you're taking the hoop off and doing something, manipulating fabric or pressing.
Absolutely. And, you know, the key is don't disturb the work that's in the hoop, right? I mean,
That's
that's
right.
what's so wonderful. I mean, important to know. And if you don't, then it does come out wonderful. I always, you know, I'm just going to move over here and get my board. You know, this is a magnet shield that would sell that goes between the snap hoop monsters, top and bottom. And you know, I use this to transport all of my hoops. And you know, like when I bring this from home to the studio, or if I'm working from the machine to my work table, I will, you know, pull this off the machine and then just slide this board underneath. You could use a cutting board like from your kitchen, a heavy piece of cardboard, you know, just anything so that you're not handling that stabilizer. You don't want to put your hand here because that's how you will dislodge it, right? So
Right.
yeah, just if you have something underneath of it like this, then you can move all around. You know, I even put these in my bag to come from home to the office to tape, and nothing ever gets out of harm's way.
That's a
Now,
great idea because even when you know, have used the hoop and press pad, got things taped down, sometimes getting that hoop on your machine, one of those corners of your fabric might slip. And if
mm,
you're already on a little board, you're carrying it to your
yeah,
machine, that's
yeah.
probably not going to happen.
Right. I'm going to show you another tip, and then you have a good hooping tip for multi-needle machines. So if you know you're going to be working on a project that you're going to be on and off the machine a lot, hoop your stabilizer and then take a pen and draw around the perimeter of the hoop. And that way, if this pops out, you know exactly where to put it back.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, you know, I know. We learn these things the hard way, for
That's
sure.
right.
Yeah. So let's see. So Norma Cooper wants to know, will the link work after this live? It will work for 1 week. This special will be good until the end of next Thursday. So, you know, take advantage of it this week. And today is July. July. I wish I'm always in July. I'm a summer girl. It's February 9th. So it'll be good for 1 more week. Okay. So will you share your tip for multi-needle machines?
Sure. Let me change my camera view. So if you have a multi-needle machine, this is basically how the hoops look. I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I'm working with the multi-needle hoop, after a while the stabilizer starts to move for whatever reason. It really doesn't stay secure.
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of people use tape or, shelf liner that they're wrapping, around this part of the hoop to keep the stabilizer nice and tight. So if I were doing something in the hoop on my multi-needle and I turn it over and, I'm pressing or anything, I'm barely pressing on this. And look how you can see my stabilizer is already moving. It's just kind of the nature of the multi-needle hoops. And then I find myself going to the front side. You can see how it's already moved. And then I'm
Yeah.
doing this and I'm trying to pull it. And all that's doing is just throwing my design, off by pulling on my stabilizer. So what I like to do is I take T-pins, and they're really strong pins. They're shaped like a T at the top. And I go around the hoop and I place the T-pins. Let me show you how I put one in. So I'm just going to, stick the pin in, kind of turn it backwards here, and have the point come out. And I want to get the head of the pin, that T, so that half of it is resting on the inside of the hoop, and then half of it is resting here on the outside of the hoop. So after you go and you put all your T-pins around, I won't go ahead and do this whole side over here, but after you get all the T-pins in, like I did on this side, when you start working on the back side, now when you press, and I'm pressing, as hard as I did before,
Yeah.
my
Mhm.
stabilizer isn't moving. So, but these multi-needle hoops, I'm sure people who have multi-needle machines, they kind of realize this. So,
It's a great tip, Reen. People are just loving it. Barb Torrey says, how smart. Krista Gray, she's never seen that before. Awesome tip. And Debbie Snow
it is
said
because
she's
it's
just,
just the nature of these hoops. And this one's only the 5x7 hoop. When I start working with my bigger, what is it, 8x12 or 14 hoop, then
Mhm.
it's really bad.
Yeah, it is. And it's so frustrating. All your hard work and it's really
Right.
frustrating.
While I'm on this camera, I wanted to show another tip. And this one just popped up in my Facebook group yesterday. What this lady does, she got her hoop and press pads. And what she likes to do, I just got scrap fabric here, but she takes her pad, and I've got one of those Frixion pins. She draws around it on her fabric that she's going to be using. Just get all the way around here. And then she cuts this out and she uses that piece to place in her hoop so that she can float her fabric and not have any waste at all. Some people like to float. Maybe you don't have a lot of fabric. Maybe, you need to be really careful, or you just don't like to waste anything.
Right.
So I thought
Great.
that was kind of a cool little tip.
That was a cool tip. And what we learn from each other, right? It's amazing. So Randy Allen wants to know, can the T-pin tip be used on single needle machines?
Yes, it can be. If I could walk over to my cutting table, I've got my big 9.5x14 hoop set up, and I put those pins in because I'm going to be working on a project, and I know I'm not going to get it done in 1 day or 2 days. It's one of those things I'm just going to have to kind of do here and there. And
Yeah.
so I thought, I'm going to put these pins in here so that, nothing happens, because it's something I'm not going to be, working on continuously.
Absolutely. And
It's
Jeanette
great for
Verville,
freestanding lace too, because
yeah,
all those stitches,
that's
there's a lot of
yeah.
stitches doing that, and they tend to pull the stabilizer in, and then that's when you can get, your registration off on things. So put those pins in around the hoop when doing freestanding lace.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we have always done it for freestanding lace. So I never thought, oh, I should use that same thing on my multi-needle hoops because they just don't hold. But duh, thank you for sharing that. That was great. And let's see, is the free shipping only if you purchase the whole bundle? I think the free shipping is on purchases over $75. But when you check out on the website, it'll inform you. Um, Okay, I think we covered almost everything. We want to do some more questions. Should we ask Reen a couple more questions? What's your favorite food, Reen?
Oh, pizza.
Oh, I love that.
I eat
So
way
you
too much
really,
pizza, but I absolutely love it. And my husband, when he makes pizza, it is fantastic.
oh, great.
He can make deep dish, regular pizzas. He's recently started making Detroit pizzas, which
Oh,
are,
yeah,
yeah, he can
that's
make those
different.
and they are just so tasty.
Yeah. Let's see. Jennifer Alexander says it's National Pizza Day today. Gosh, I hope so.
It's like
Right?
pizza every day for me.
Yeah. Let's see. Pizza for sure. Lots of people are agreeing with that. So here Susan has a question. She says, now this is interesting. She's been told not to hang her hoops on pegs, single and multi-needle hoops, but to lay flat in a drawer. And my question to you, Susan, is whoever told you that, are they selling furniture with drawers? Because I most certainly don't have any furniture that's going to fit all my hoops. I hang up all my hoops. Yeah. And in fact, these hoops here, I mean, they really do hang on the quilt. I mean, that's just fabric, a quilt sandwich hanging there, and that's how they hang. And you can't see it, but on the other side of this monitor in camera is pegboard, and all the standard embroidery hoops hang on one pegboard, and on the other is monster hoops. And so, and at home, I do the same thing. I mean, I have a lot of hoops, and we have an awful lot of hoops here. So how about you, Reen? What do you do?
Mine are in a drawer.
Are they in a drawer?
Yeah,
Oh, we don't
I'm
just
one of
fill the
those that-
sewing room. That's not fair.
I'm one of those, I can't have stuff hanging all around like that. I need it put away. But my drawers that I have, they're built into my cutting table. They are like this long. I can open them from either side, and I take two of those drawers, and all my hoops are laying in there.
Mm-hmm.
One for magnetic hoops, my dime snap monsters, and one for, my regular machine hoops.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. But I don't think it hurts your hoops to hang them. I've never had that issue. I've
No,
never
I don't
had
think it
any
does at all.
issue. Yeah. But it sounds like lots of people have, used drawers. And Rachel, she uses on pegs and in drawers, a combination. Right. That's good. Really, I want my hoops on my machine running. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So another question. Pizza, we know. How did you meet your husband?
Well, it was years and years ago. In May, I'm going to have been married 44 years. We got married very young. He was actually the paper boy.
Oh,
Dave was the paper boy. We went to high school together. And we started dating. And like I said, we did get married young. I was 20. He was 21 or 22. And it's lasted all this time. And it's just been wonderful.
How many years now? It's a lot.
Yeah, 44 years.
Woo-hoo. Okay, let's take care of some questions. Joyce L. wants to know, what's the difference between fuse me and fuse and stick? Okay, so I wish Deborah Jones were here because she would give you better vocabulary than me, but I'm going to do it in layman's term. Fuse me is a fusible web that you apply to the wrong side of applique fabric, and then when you remove the protective paper and place it down on the fabric, you have to apply heat to get it to be secured at all, okay? Now, fuse and stick, when you apply it to applique fabric and you remove the protective paper, the adhesive is tacky and repositionable. So you can move that applique like a Post-it note over and over again till it's in the right place. And then you can stitch the tack down and then apply heat and it's permanently attached. So that's the difference between the two. And, If you don't need that repositionable feature, then I would suggest using the Fuse Me. It's lighter weight, probably a little less expensive, and it's one that I use more often than the Fuse and Stick. Everything has its reasons, right?
I like the Fuse and Stick, the repositionable, to use when I have cut, my appliques out using my cutting machine, because then, it's going to stick down,
Mhm.
and, I can, stitch it down, whatever. And
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, we have quite a few. Let's see. Sue Wiggins says that you beat her. She married the boy across the street in 1958. Oh my gosh. Well, when she moved anyway, she married in 1977. So very cool. That's adorable. One of my sisters, went to the prom, high school prom with her husband, and they're married over 40 years now. That's pretty cool. And let's see. Let's see. There was a couple of questions about what kind of cutting machine do you use? What do you use?
Brother Scan and Cut.
That's what I use currently. But
I like
they're
to
all
use it
great.
on my hand sketch florals, to cut out the pieces, the SVGs that are included.
Oh yeah, great. Absolutely. Really good for that. Okay, so let's Marilyn Jones, 60 years in Marilyn Jones, married 60 years in June, high school sweethearts.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. And Joanne Bruno Harden was married 48 years yesterday. Well, I hope you had a nice celebration. It's awesome. Okay, so let's see. Well, we already talked how many years you've been married. How about what's your favorite memory of your mom?
Ooh, just being with her. And I mean, that's where I got, started with sewing and crafting. My mom was one of those that she was always doing something. She was either sewing, crocheting, painting, any crafty kind of a thing, and those are probably my best memories of my mom.
Nice.
Unfortunately, my mom, developed dementia kind of early on. Like, it was in her 70s that she did. And she went downhill quickly, and it was just always hard, and then because I knew that she didn't remember any of those things anymore and stuff. So I really like those memories of just her and I crafting and sewing and stuff.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I just have to share Pamela. She ran away and got married when she was 15 and her husband was 19. Pamela, that might be illegal today. Who knows?
In some states.
And they're married 53 years. How wonderful is that? That's
Wow.
grand. That's grand. Okay, I know you had a really special relationship with your mother-in-law. So share a favorite memory of your mother-in-law.
Oh, Betty always made holidays so special. And I was lucky, that she made them special for my kids too. My kids have so many wonderful memories of, being at their house, on, Easter, Christmas, all the holidays and stuff. And she really, really went out of her way, to do special things and, hold traditions every year, every the kids each got a special ornament, and when they got married and got their own houses and I gave them to them, then they had all those memories again, and stuff. So that's probably, my best memories of my mother-in-law, besides flowers, and getting me into the gardening and stuff. But
yeah.
She always tried to make things special.
Yeah. I think as a younger woman, as a new mom myself, I didn't appreciate what my mom and my mother-in-law were doing for me. To the extent, I mean, I did appreciate it. Believe me, we had very good relationships. But now that I'm older in this older body, I know how physically taxing all of that was. And they never complained. Never complained. All right. Okay. So let's see. Wow. Ann Philbeck, she was married super early. She was 16 when she got married.
Wow.
How about that? And it lasted. And she's going to be 65 next month. So I'm not doing that math, but we'll believe her. And Mary Downey says her mother was her best friend. Lucky you. That's lovely. Okay. So if heaven exists, what do you want God to say to you upon your arrival?
Oh, that I did well in life, that I took care of my family, that, I like my mother-in-law, I made the memories for them.
Mhm.
Um, because again, to me, it all comes back down to my kids and my grandkids.
Right.
We're a very small family. You
Mhm.
know, I
Yeah.
have one brother, he never had kids. My husband has one brother, he never had kids. So it's just our two boys.
Mhm.
And at this point, they each just have one son themselves. So, our family's small.
Right. But treasured, absolutely treasured. Well, that's beautiful. Just beautiful. It's always so fun to get to know you a little bit better. And, every so often we do these 20 questions, and I think people really enjoy it. And I know I do for sure. So we have our special. And then, Reen, all year long, we do On the House, which is a free design that we offer to our viewers and customers at dzgns.com, that they're always welcome to go ahead and download that design for
I look
free.
forward to it every week.
Yeah. And okay, so I'd like to share what we've been seeing, just a couple of the projects from last month. So let's go ahead and play that. And it's coming. Yep, that was kind of short, but here's our beautiful Easter egg. Isn't that
Wow,
gorgeous? Look how lacy it is. Isn't it lovely?
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just 6 colors, but look how they're spread out over the egg. It really, in my mind, makes it look like there's a lot more color changes.
It does, but that's beautiful. I love that.
We're really excited about it and hope that everybody takes advantage of it. Well, Reen, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have you here. We always learn so much. Some really great tips were shared today, and I know you'll be back.
I hope so, Eileen. Thanks for having me.
All right, Reen, thank you so much. And then I just want to share with everybody what's happening next week. Here on Thursday, we're going to talk about thread and fabric organizing tips. And that's on Thursday at 1 o'clock Central Time. And I hope you'll join me for that. I know that we are always looking for tips on storing all the fabrics and tools and so forth that we seem to accumulate. So join me then. And remember, if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and also like us on Facebook, that helps you be notified every time we go live. We don't want to miss it. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.